Welcome back. We are discussing disaster management, the national agenda, and we are doing that with the Deputy Director Acting of the Department of Disaster Management, Mr. Robert Hayward. Now, you give us the hierarchy of the different agencies. How does it work? Do they meet? Is there a meeting of everybody at a certain time, then others are going out, and how autonomous are these bodies, if at all?
Well, the 15 subcommittees, they meet quite regularly. And evidently the officers at the department are all ex officio to each subcommittee. And those subcommittees meet amongst themselves in council, if you will. And prior to the hurricane season, they then meet in a national forum with the Minister of Home Affairs to look at the plans and the procedures that they would have gone through during the year and where they are at the start of the hurricane season and where they are expected to be either during the season or by the end of the season.
And do they have distinct responsibilities, each committee? Can they morph, or is it that you do what you're supposed to do? How is it?
Well, the subcommittees, they do have distinct responsibilities, but bear in mind that mostly the requirements are multi-sectoral. You may have agencies on several subcommittees. So, for example, the Barbados Fire Service, they sit on a couple of committees, and Royal Barbados Police Force, they sit on a couple of committees as well. Certainly, Government Information Services, they sit on a couple of committees. But in the main, the committees are, if you will, self-sufficient. We do have in front of you. You would appreciate the
range of
handouts. This would have been done through the Public Information Education Subcommittee, which is said earlier is chaired by Government Information Services.
All right. One more question in that vein: is there a chain of command on the event of a disaster, or each committee knows exactly what it's supposed to do and they just get out there and do it?
Well, in a crisis or disaster situation, a lot of things change. Prior to, if we go to the hurricane scenario, which is one in which we know we can anticipate, if you go to the watch phase and the warning phase, the watch phase, it is 36 hours, and the warning phase is now 48 hours. So if you go to the watch phase, for example, the Department of Emergency Management, working on information from the Met Office, would convene a meeting of the subcommittee heads, and at the same time, during that meeting, the Minister of Home Affairs would chair that meeting, and at that time it would be determined when we would activate the Operations Center, when we would initiate the national shutdown and stuff like that.
Now that we've established the framework, as I said, and just reminding our viewers that you can call and have a chat with Mr. Harewood at 228-5562 or 228-5563. We are discussing disaster management, the national agenda. Now, we know who is in charge, what they're meant to be doing. You've done a fantastic job of that. But when it comes to the slippage of my fence after flooding, when it comes to my chickens and my sheep floating down the road, I'm not too bothered about who's in charge. I just want help. So we started off by saying that you need to contact your community disaster officer who would have been made known to you. What next?
Well, first of all, disasters start locally. They start with the individual.
Okay.
So there's certain things that we must have in place, we should always have in place prior to an event. So if your chickens are impacted, then there must be something that you would have had in place to rescue your chickens, to do something about your chickens, to recover your chickens before you seek assistance.
Right. Okay.
If that does not play out, then you for your impact, then you could call, or you will call, the Department of Emergency Management directly after an event.
Okay. What
happens there is, notwithstanding your chicken scenario, but say for example your house was impacted,
okay,
roof damage, etc. After the event, you will call the department and make a well, for lack of a better term, a claim. My house has been damaged. I am XYZ. This is where I live, etc. That information will be taken into a database, and the Statistical Services Department, who are responsible for damage assessment, Apart from taking that type of information, they directly after the event will go out with their damage assessment teams and start damage assessment processes. They do have enumerators in each district that are trained to do damage assessment. So they would have gone out in times like these, and they would have taken pictures of the areas, etc. They would know what the housing stock looks like in that particular area, so that after an impact, those particular damage assessors can go into that area and properly map where the damages have occurred and what type of damages have occurred to give that information to the national office.
Okay. And before we go to a question from John, the follow-up to that is, what is the reasonable time frame or the reasonable response in terms of priority? Because everyone feels that you should be coming to my house right now, but there is a hierarchy of importance, isn't there, for which your personnel would roll out their expertise and their resources?
Right. The priority is life,
right,
first and foremost.
Okay.
And thereafter, once the damage assessment has been completed, we will look at those persons who do not necessarily fit the criteria for national assistance. Those persons, maybe the elderly living alone, don't have insurance, the houses may have been dilapidated to start with, etc. So the damage assessors would flag those particular incidents or those particular houses, and that would go to the top of the priority list. And thereafter, social services will go out and do another assessment, which is a socio-economic assessment, to see how best they can rehabilitate that particular family, that particular household, etc.
Okay, we have a caller, so we're going to start those calls. We want to thank you for taking the time to call. So good morning. Go ahead with your question.
Yes, good morning. I am creating a question. Now, I live in the area of Black Rock, where every time that we have a lot of rain, we get floods out. Now, I was hearing about the preparations before, the preparations after, but what about the preparations before? Now, down where we live, we have a lot of water coming down from Cave Hill. We have water coming from St. Stephen's, and each and every time that we get a lot of rain, we get floods out down there. What about if we could get someone that would actually help us before they have that big set of flood?
Okay. All right, that makes sense. The preparation bit before.
Okay, apart from doing your local cleanup, etc., if flooding is consistent, then you would need to contact, you can do it through us, contact the drainage division, and they can send a team out to investigate and see why you may have consistent flooding and seek to rectify that problem for you.
Okay, so hopefully that's helpful too. You can call, you know which department you need to call now, and just explain the same things you explained to us, because he mentioned, you know, the Black Rock, St. Stephen's, yes, Cave Hill areas that coincide.
And we have Pam holding on the line. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And the reason I'm calling is my roof was damaged during Thomas, and the person responsible for my house, they came, they sent people to check the roof and so on, and nothing's been done. We're into the hurricane season, and I'm wondering who would I contact, because nothing's been done here. And really and truly, if anything happens, we may lose our roof and whatever we have in the house. So who do we contact at this point in order to get some assistance here?
I think Pam raises an interesting point about rented homes or homes that you do not own.
Is she saying that her home is rented?
She says that she called the person who owns the home in which she lives, came and did an assessment of the damage to the roof during in the aftermath of Thomas, and nothing so far has been done. We are now into the hurricane season again. She's, I would assume, now more vulnerable than prior.
If the home is rented, the government of Barbados is not obligated to fix the roof. She would really need to get in contact with the landlord and impress upon them the importance of having that roof fixed. There are certain measures that she might be able to take with respect to, I'm not sure if it's legal action to get the roof fixed, but certainly as a rented property, she would really need to seek clarity from her landlord. What's the situation there? Whether
she can maybe use a month's rent to go ahead and fix it, but certainly you'd want to protect yourself, secure yourself. So you have options. renting somewhere else or trying to work it out with him.
Our next caller doesn't have a question, but would like to make a comment. So we say good morning to Tamisha.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tamisha.
Good morning.
All right. Somehow.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
I want to find out why if 4 people are renting someone land and the house blow off or have a problem with it around hurricane, why when the government coming to help you back, they have to get permission from your landlord when you are paying rent?
I guess that's in the same vein as the
Yeah,
previous
but you see, at the end of the day, the property belongs to the landlord. Although you may be paying rent, the landlord is still owner of the said property. So if you decide to leave tomorrow, the property is still his. So the government would still need permission from the landlord in order to effect any repairs or assist you before that is done.
All right, well, we want to thank you very much for dropping by this morning and sharing with us as we discuss the disaster management, the national agenda as it relates to disaster management. I'm sure that as the season progresses, we will have you or maybe other people from the department come in. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
And we hope we have a very quiet hurricane season.
Though those are not
Those
are not the projections.
Well, we can still live in hope. So,
I just want to say
go ahead,
predictions. Although we may have several predictions every year, it only takes one system to affect us. So whether or not we're going to have a quiet season or an active season, we only need one system to affect us.
Right.
Wise words.
Thank you again,
so much.
Mr. Robert Haywood. We'll be right back with more on Morning Barbados.